Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to return to a brewery that's featured on the channel many times before. I've had some really nice beers from these guys over the years, a good few different styles, and I think it's fair to describe this brewery as a generally all-round solid brewery. They're known mainly, I guess, for doing different traditional styles of beer, but the one that we're going to have a look at today is a style that I haven't tried from them yet. So I'm quite curious to see how this one turns out because it's a style that I very much enjoy, but just one that you don't come across all that often. And it's a kind of special anniversary beer for this brewery as well. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one. Hopefully it's another good beer. Hopefully it makes for an interesting review. And as always, I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to Nynäshamn, which is to the south of Stockholm, and we're having a look then at another beer from Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri. So this particular beer is called the Roxen India Red Ale. It comes in at 7% ABV, and as the name suggests, this one is an kind of India Red Ale or Red IPA, whatever you want to call it. But this beer was released as part of the Tillfälligt temporary assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden, and I think it was released maybe about 10 days ago or something like that. I'm not sure of the exact date that this one was released, but yeah, it's also a beer brewed for their 25th anniversary. Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri are actually the oldest craft brewery in Sweden, if I have that correct. I'm pretty sure that these guys were the first one, and the Brewery Bitter, of course, was the very first craft beer released in Sweden. I reviewed that for you a good couple of years back. But yeah, when I saw these guys were doing a sort of red IPA, red ale, I couldn't resist it. I always have to try these when I come across them. It's like when I come across Rauch beers or Scotch ales or whatever. And in fact, the last beer that I reviewed from these guys was the Rasviken Rukul, and that was back in like July or something like that of 2021. So yeah, nice to return to these guys after a little while. So let's see how we get on with this one, and happy 25th anniversary to the brewery, of course. So as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri before, and we will probably add some more to that list at some point in the fairly near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes then to tell you a little bit about Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri once again. So Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Nynäshamn, which you can find to the south of Stockholm, and the company was founded back in 1997, which makes it the first of the kind of new generation of Swedish craft breweries, if we can call them that. So the brewery finds its origins in the Haggis Bärsklubb, which is an organisation started by some friends who used to like to go around Europe on expeditions to visit various different breweries. And the main reason that they used to do this was that Sweden was lacking a good choice of beer for a very long time. So they used to go down to Germany, the Czech Republic, Belgium, all of these kind of places. But in 1993, the club decided that they needed a permanent venue for their events and things like this. So they took an old warehouse and converted it into a pub and breakfast bar, which proved to be very popular with the locals. But the guys also began to brew after taking a homebrewing course in Stockholm in 1994, and apparently in the early 1990s, there had been a small brewery in the town that used the name Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri. So they decided that they were going to use this name again and name all of their beers after local places on the archipelago, because they really wanted these beers to be, symbols of the local area. So yeah, fast forward a little bit, and they had a small brewery that they had built largely themselves, and in the spring of 1997 they launched their first and now flagship beer, which is the Brewery Bitter, at the Harbour Party in Nynäshamn. A visit from Michael Jackson, also known as the Beer Hunter, in 2000 inspired the brewery, and they continued to brew despite long hours and hard work, and nearly everything was actually done by hand in the brewery at this point. They were kind of labelling all their bottles and hand you know, hand capping them and things like this. It's just crazy, actually. But they were rewarded in 2002 with medals at the Stockholm Beer Festival and then a permanent spot in the Systembolaget range. In 2006, the brewery moved to their current premises and they put a lot of work into renovating this place. And they also finally managed to secure an automated bottling machine in 2009. And this meant that the super long working hours that they had could finally stop. So over the course of 2019, they brewed around 900,000 litres of beer during the year, and as of February 2022, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced around 130 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd. But yeah, as I said to you before, these guys are known mainly for their kind of traditional styles of beer. They release the barley wine every so often, the Butte. I've seen quite a few different editions of that. You know, the Landsort Lager is a fairly easy one to get a hold of, the Badero Bitter. Yeah, they've got various different things there, but I tend to review the new beers, the kind of special ones that they release. I maybe need to have a look at some more of the core ones, actually, and get reviews of those done, because they are pretty damn solid, actually. I did enjoy the Landsort Lager, actually. But yeah, that is all I can really tell you about Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri for the moment. Definitely cool to review another new style from them. But if you want to learn more about this brewery, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can, of course, check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and have a little look at the beer itself then. So I'll just let you have a wee look at the artwork on this one. As you can see, it is pretty standard from what we've had compared to what we've had from Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri before. There you can see the Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri symbol on this one. This one does have a slightly different bottle cap, so I will need to make sure that I keep one of these for myself. But yeah, tells you a little bit about this one. So it says a strong red ale with tropical aromas, balanced sweetness, and a medium high bitterness. And it advises that it should be served between 11 and 13 degrees. See, it's been out of the fridge for a little bit while we've been filming, so it should be okay, actually. It tells you a little bit about Roxen as well. Of course, as I said earlier, these beers are named after places in the local area. So let me just translate this. Jag kunde, you know, mina svenska är lite bättre nu, men ibland är det lite svårt att prata spontant eftersom jag har ett lite begränsade ordförråd, tycker jag. Anyway, could do the whole videos in Swedish if I wanted to, but I think that takes away from the kind of universality of the channel, I guess we could say. But anyway, so it says, Roxen is a little group of small share, which is like a kind of rocky inlet type thing, a rocky coastal area, which is out to the east of Landsort. And Landsort, of course, is a little village close to Nynäshamn that has a lighthouse and things, hence the name Landsort Lager. But beside the Sharon, seals were hunted and fishing took place during the early 1900s. The seals for a long time were threatened, but are now back in Roxen with what seems like a stark population, a high population. Roxen India Red Ale has been brewed with malt that gives the red-ish rhodactica, red-ish colour, along with hops with fruity tropical characters to meet or create a craftiga. That's like a sort of powerful, I guess you could say, craftiga body. But as all of our beers, this one is unpasteurised and brewed with omsorg and kärlek. So yeah, like care and love and care, yeah, you could say. So yeah, hope that translation was all right. But there we go. Kanske på framtiden ska jag filma några recensioner på svenska av några klassiska svenska öl. Men vi får se på framtiden. But yeah, nice beer, this one. This cost me 30 Swedish kronor, about €3. In that case, about £2.50 sterling, somewhere in the region of $4. It's a half litre, so I think that's pretty damn cheap. And when you consider that it's 7%, it's actually markedly cheaper than the equivalent, you know, regular New England or West Coast IPA. So that's another interesting point. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. So the beer that really got me into sort of red IPAs, red ales and things would have been the 5am Saint from Brewdog, but that beer is kind of long gone, and of course Brewdog have gone down the roads of being quite a shitty company, so yeah, it's a shame, but yeah, whenever I get the chance to try a red ale, I'm always keen to do it. So if you have any recommendations of Swedish or any nationality red ales, to be quite frank, let me know about those in the comments section below, because I will be on that. So there we go. I think that's enough for looking at the aroma and colour of the beer and stuff like that for the moment, but yeah, let's have a little look at this then. I'm going to say straight away, it looks like a beautiful beer. Yeah, so before the head disappears on this one, you can see that this beer has just about a 3/4 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of fawn coloured head. You can see that they are lovely, kind of light, very light, kind of creamy fawn coloured head. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up toward the bottom of the head there, but overall it looks very nice. And this beer is actually crystal clear. I'm not sure how well you guys can see that. No, it's not going to work. But yeah, it's got a lovely colour to it, this one. So if I shine the light through this, it's actually a very kind of deep ruby that you're getting out of this one. It's a very nice looking beer, I have to say. I really do like how that goes together. But yeah, I think you could describe this as a kind of deep red mahogany, but definitely has a little bit of that ruby hint to it. But yeah, remember, the colour of your beer depends on 1, the type of malts that you use, 2, the length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. Any barrel aging that you do, or any adjuncts that you put into the beer, will of course play a role in that as well. But yeah, it's a lovely looking beer, this one, I have to say, and pretty much as you would expect for a red IPA, India Red Ale, whatever we're going to call it in this one. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma and see what we get with this one. Oh yeah, this is quite interesting. So I'm going to say straight away, this beer kind of straddles the it's got a little bit of an English character to it, and you know, these guys do like their English traditional beers, as I've explained on the channel. For me, English traditional beer is all about the porters and the stouts. Not a great fan of the bitters or the golden ales and stuff. I do enjoy a mild, in fairness, and some of the brown ales can be nice, and the red ales of course too, but I more prefer the American ones actually. But yeah, this one kind of straddles the line between an English red ale. It's got a bit of an English character to the malt base, but the rest of it's American. It's mostly an American. It's like 20% English, maybe 80% American for sure. But yeah, aroma wise, this is pretty nice. So you've got a little bit of a kind of bready, grainy backbone to it, a wee bit of kind of hoppy character, and also some juicy, fruity things. It's got everything you would kind of want. But let's break that down for you a wee bit more and give you a more in-depth kind of thing to it. So on the malty side of things then, you definitely got a wee bit of bread crust in the backbone here, so that's really nice. A bit of a kind of brown bready, bread crusty sort of thing. On top of that, there's a wee bit of on top of that, there's definitely a wee bit of a kind of smooth brown bready character. So yeah, I really like how that goes together. But then there's definitely an element of sweetness to this malt base as well. So yeah, bread crusty backbone, smooth kind of brown bready character in there as well. It's got a wee bit of sweetness in that brown bread, but then you've also got a bit of a kind of more sweet, oily, kind of caramelly note as well. So yeah, I like how that goes together, absolutely. So yeah, nice sweet, oily, caramelly character. Yeah, nice sweet, oily, caramelly character. Wee bit of McVitie's digestive biscuit in there, and then yeah, a bit of brown bread and a bit of a kind of bread crusty character as well. So yeah, the way that goes together is very nice. Kind of everything you'd expect. There's maybe one or two little woody notes in there, but yeah, it's the bready character, the sort of graininess of the bread in this one is for me what really gives it a little bit of English character. The bread crust, the grainy brown bread, wholemeal bread I would say, sweet caramel, McVitie's digestive biscuit, and yeah, I think it goes together very well. So yeah, I like it. I definitely like it. Yeah, the way that this goes together is pretty solid from the malty side of things. So let's have a little look at the hoppy side of the beer. On the green component, there is a wee touch of earthiness in there, but I actually get a more floral character out of it. Definitely leans towards that more kind of floral aromatic sort of thing. But yeah, there's a wee bit of a kind of light, a kind of brighter grassy note to it as well. So yeah, the way that this goes about its business, I think, is quite nice on the green component. I would say the green component of the hops is definitely more. The green component of the hops are definitely more American rather than anything. It's got quite a bright floral character, and a wee bit of a little bit of a more kind of just slightly zesty grassiness there. But it smells quite oily in that sense too. But yeah, on the the fruity side of things, I think this is where the beer really kind of starts to shine a little bit. I'd be very curious to know what hops they've used in this actually. I always used to love Amarillo in these ones, but maybe it'll be a little bit of Cascade and a wee bit of Amarillo, something like that. There's something familiar about this though, I will say that. So for me, definitely, there's something telling me there's a bit of Cascade in this one. It's got this kind of soft, slightly figgy, and almost at the same time slightly blackcurranty, red fruity character that's forming the base of the fruit. But on top of that, you're getting a wee bit of a kind of more oily, orangey character, and there's maybe just a wee teeny hint of grapefruit in there. So I would not be surprised if I think this beer's using some kind of old school classic hop, and my guess would be Cascade. It would be Cascade and a little bit of Amarillo in this one. That would not surprise me if this beer was going down this route. And I mean, when we think about it being at 7%, I think this beer is probably modelled on, some of the old school West Coast American red IPAs. I think that's what they're going for with this one, to be honest with you. Although it does have a wee bit of English character on the malt base, as we've said. So yeah, could be a little bit of Maris Otter or something in this one from England that's doing that. Yeah. But yeah, I would go with that on the fruits. There's a teeny little hint of that grapefruit in there, a bit of the kind of figgy and slightly blackcurranty note that I always find Cascade gives you. And then you've got a bit of a more oily, orangey character in there, which I suspect could be Amarillo, but it might be a little bit of Mosaic at the same time. Mosaic, it doesn't quite strike me as zesty enough to be Amarillo in a sense, so I'm kind of doubting my thing there. But Mosaic would give you a slightly lighter orangey character, but you do have to remember hops will behave in different ways with different yeasts and different malt bases. So yeah, that's always something to remember when it comes to these different beers. But yeah, aroma wise, this one is really quite nice. Has everything you'd expect from the style. So let's leave it at that for the aroma, and we'll have a taste of this one then. So yeah, this one is the Roxen India Red Ale, 7% ABV, red IPA, in red ale, whatever you want to call it, from Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri in Nynäshamn to the south of Stockholm. A very happy 25th anniversary to them, and I'm sure they'll be going for another 25 years. So yeah, let's have a taste of this then. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Yeah, that is pretty nice. It's quite a well-rounded beer, this one. It's been ages since I've had one of these styles. I actually can't remember what the last red IPA I had was. But yeah, this is quite nice. Yeah, this is a beer that's definitely going to take a little bit of time to kind of open up and things like that. But yeah, it's interesting because it is quite in keeping with the sort of beers that we've had from Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri before. I mean, these guys, they do really nice kind of well-rounded, smooth, slightly oily beers and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this one goes about its business very, very nicely. So yeah, let's try and... my first impression of it is that it's quite oily. It's got a good little bit of bitterness to it and a wee bit sweet. It's pretty much exactly as they kind of described it on the front of the bottle there. So that's a good summary of the flavour of this beer. But let's describe that for you a wee bit more in depth. So, get the rest of it in because, yeah, I'm going to drink the whole thing. Why not? Yeah, there we go. It's a nice pour actually, eh? But yeah, so when you take this beer in, the first thing you're going to get, we'll focus on the middle third of the palate just now. It's quite a straight shooting beer, but it's one of these ones, you get this quite fairly often. It's a beer that's nicely done, and it gives you everything you want from the style. It's just well crafted, it really just is. But yeah, let's look at that then. So the base, the backbone of this beer, as we say, it's got a little bit of that kind of bread crusty character to it. So that is the backbone of the beer. On top of that, you've got a little bit of a, you do have a nice little bit of a more kind of smooth brown bready character in there. And again, I really like how that goes together. But the more that you drink of this, the sweeter that it gets. Yeah, the more that you drink of this, the sweeter it gets. And I think that works. I do think that works really well. So yeah, focus on that middle third of the palate again. A little bit of kind of bread crusty note in there, some smooth brown bready characters on top of it. And yeah, the way that that goes together is really nice. And toward the front of that middle third of your palate, you get a little touch of woodiness in there, which is great. So yeah, you get a little bit of woodiness in there. But that kind of fades away in favour of a more sweet bready character further on. But sitting on top of the breadiness, you get you can feel there's a little circle in the middle of your palate. You can feel there's a little circle in the middle of your palate. You get a wee bit of a more kind of, you do get a wee bit more of a kind of oily, sweet caramelly note in there. There's a little bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing underneath it as well. So like if you're in the dead centre of your palate, you can feel there's a bit of a kind of concentrated brown sugary note there. Then as you move further out from that, a little bit more of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing as you go further out from that. I don't think there's too much else to say about the malt base in this one, to be honest with you. Stronger brown sugars in the middle, McVitie's digestive as you go further out, brown bread, a little bit of bread crust, and a wee touch of a kind of woody undertone to it. I think that summarises it quite nicely. So yeah, let's focus on the back third of the palate then. So, border region then between middle and back third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of a kind of bready build up in there. There's the base. The base of the back third of the palate again is some of the more bread crust, and as I've always said, you get more bitter flavours toward the back of your palate, so you can feel that is a little bit more kind of bitter there compared to other things that we've had in the compared to the other flavours that we've had throughout the beer. So yeah, a bit more of a kind of grainy bread crust. On top of that, you get a slightly thicker brown bready layer. So yeah, you can feel that. You can feel that on top of it. So a slightly thicker brown bready note. And then yeah, you get a wee bit more. You can feel a bit of a toasty brown sugary note kind of coming out on the back, on that border region between middle third and back third of your palate as well. So that goes together really well. On top of all of that, you do get a wee bit of a more. You do get a little bit of a more kind of. You get a wee bit of a more kind of doughy. You get a bit of the yeasty character coming out, so you can feel there's a bit more of a kind of dense, doughy, brown bready character. This one again, a wee bit of a bread crusty quality as well, and I do like that. I do like that too. So yeah, you can feel the yeasty character in this one just gives a little bit more thickness to the bready notes of the beer, and it works. It really does work. So yeah, this one, quite a straight shooting malty yeasty side to it, but yeah, it's everything you'd expect of the style, to be honest with you. So yeah, I think we can leave it at that for the malty yeasty side of things. But on the back third of your palate, the flavour is definitely taller, and as I always say, as you come further forward into that middle third of your palate, the flavour just kind of condenses down and squashes together a wee bit. So that's nice as well. But let's focus on the hoppy side of things. So back corners of the palate then, you've got a nice little bit of earthiness there. As you move further forward, it gets a little bit more, there's a wee touch of herbal character, but as you reach the front corners of the palate, it's definitely a little bit more kind of floral. And then round the front curve of the palate, you've got a little bit of this kind of wet, grassy sort of thing as well. So yeah, I like how that, pardon me, I do like how that goes together as well. So, yeah, the way that this, the way the green component of this one goes together, it does have a fair wee bit of bitterness to it, but yeah, that again is another thing that makes it more like the American radio rather than the English one. The wee bit more hoppy bitterness is making it stand out in that sense. But let's focus on the fruity side of the beer in the front third of the palate. So border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in there again. Then the base of the front third of your palate is a little bit more, the base of the front third of your palate is a little bit more of a kind of smooth brown bready sort of thing. And on top of that, you've got a nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. And I do think this is mainly Cascade and Amarillo. The green component, the way the green component comes out just makes me think of Cascade, because it has that quite bright grassiness to it. But it's quite oily at the same time. So yeah, at the back of that front third of your palate, you've got a wee bit of a stronger grapefruity note. And then as you move further forward, it develops more of a kind of, that kind of figgy, slightly blackcurranty character there. So it's a bit figgy on the back half of that front, of the back half of that front third of your palate, but there's a wee bit of grapefruit sitting on top of it as well. Then the base of that front third of your palate too is the base of that front of the front half of the front third of your palate. Brain's not working. That gives you a wee touch of that slightly black cunty thing that Cascade will give you, but on top of that you get a more oily orange. And as I said earlier, I'm a bit conflicted as to whether that is going to be, I'm a bit conflicted as to whether that would be Amarillo or Mosaic. The lightness of it makes me want to say Mosaic, but it has a wee bit of the zestiness. I do get a bit more of the zestiness than I was earlier, so that's making me think again and think maybe it could be Amarillo. But yeah, the way that this beer goes about its business anyway on the fruity side of things is very, very nice actually. So thumbs up from me, definitely. So, yeah, I think we can leave it at that for the flavour side of things. I think we've described everything we need to. So let's round off the review with a wee look at the mouthfeel. Mouthfeel wise, I find this one to be right in the middle of the spectrum. The carbonation is very smooth. It's got a little bit of an oily character to it as well, which I really quite enjoy. Yeah, I like that about this one. Definitely nice kind of oily, yeah, kind of fairly sort of rich oily note to it. But yeah, at the same time, it has that kind of cleanliness to it that you expect of a Scandinavian beer. You always get that clean water, and it feels a little bit lighter than you might get from American brewed version of this style. That's fair to say. In terms of IBUs, I think this one is potentially like a sort of 40-50 IBU beer, something like that. But remember, take my IBU ratings with a pinch of salt. This is my weakest point of beer reviewing. But yeah, 40 or 50 IBUs. The malt base has a little bit of kind of bready, grainy character to it, as we've said. The malt base has a little bit of bready, kind of grainy character to it, as we've said. There's a bit of sweetness in there too, a little bit of biscuitiness, and you've also got that nice kind of more oily, juicy, fruity sort of thing to it. So yeah, the way that this goes together is very, very nice. So it gets a thumbs up from me. Solid beer. This is a style that I very much enjoy, and I think, in fairness, the sort of bready, as I say, this one I think is maybe about 20 or 30% English, and then the rest of it's American. It is leaning more towards that American radio side of things. But yeah, it's just a nice, drinkable, enjoyable beer, this one. It's not madly crazy, but then, the Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri beers, aren't, madly crazy when we think about the craft side of things. They're just nice and enjoyable. I think that's fair to say. Yeah, I think they stand out a little bit more for me with them kind of slightly more malty side of things. I've not had too many hoppy beers from them, right enough, but yeah, their beers always tend to be the more kind of balanced sort of food pairing type beers, and they do well in this regard. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. So this one is the Roxen India Red Ale, coming in at 7% ABV, one of the 25th anniversary beers from Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri to the south of from Nynäshamn in the south to the south of Stockholm, on the kind of in the east of Sweden, I guess we could say. Brain is not working, guys. My apologies. But yeah, thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Nynäshamns Ångbryggeri, and we will no doubt return to these guys at some point again in the near future. Till the next time, check out my social media, check out theirs, and I'll see you again soon. Slàinte, skål, cheers.